Labour has spent £70 million on a new migrant detention centre, and it's barely being used. Campsfield House, on the outskirts of Oxfordshire, was built to hold 160 rejected asylum seekers or foreign criminals, yet just 50 men are currently inside, less than a third of its capacity. That works out at an eye-watering £437,000 per bed, all paid for by the taxpayer. Reform UK's policy chief, Zia Youssef, has condemned the figures, saying, "This is a clear example of wasted public money. Labour simply isn't serious about removing migrants with no right to stay in Britain." The Home Office says the centre is being phased in carefully, with new staff and arrivals brought in gradually to avoid disruption. A spokesperson branded Campsfield House as the first step in a major expansion of secure detention facilities, adding that the Home Secretary has announced the most sweeping reforms in modern times to tackle illegal migration. Britain currently operates 8 immigration removal centres and 3 short-term holding facilities, while the government insists it remains committed to phasing out costly asylum hotels. But the wider context paints a tougher picture. GB News can exclusively reveal that Sir Keir Starmer's small boats record is now worse than any of his predecessors. More than 65,800 asylum seekers have crossed the Channel from France during his first 19 months in power, surpassing Boris Johnson's total, but in almost half the time. In 2025 alone, more than 41,000 people made the crossing, with over 23,000 arriving in just Sir Keir's first 6 months in office. Against that backdrop, critics say empty detention beds and rising arrivals raise serious questions about whether Labour's tough talk is being matched by action.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Keir Starmer, he was talking tough, wasn't he, at election points, saying that he, quotes, was going to smash the gangs. Well, I've got to put it to you now. He certainly smashed something. It's not the gangs, it's the records. More than, well, not more than, but 65,870 people have crossed the not-so-small boats so far in the 19 months since he took power. This is not going well, Jonathan Hinder, is it?
Well, I've been very vocal about this, as you know, and the British people have the right to have their government control their borders. It is an entirely reasonable need.
Yeah.
And the Conservatives left us with this inheritance, and we've got to sort it out. And I think what Shabana Mahmood has done since she came in September is say what we've been doing hasn't been enough. And you saw those sweeping reforms that she announced in the House of Commons. And I'm looking forward to them taking effect and her going further. I personally think, and this is not government policy, I personally think, as a Labour backbencher, we need a stronger deterrent. And she's bringing in that stronger deterrent with the likes of the army bases rather than the hotels, for instance. The fact that you're not going to be entitled to benefits, some of these things that should never have been the case. But actually, in the end, we're going to need to get to the point where if you come over here on a small boat, you've got a very, very small chance of being able to stay here. And at the moment, you've got a pretty good chance of staying here. That was the system we inherited.
Why would you get to the point where if you use this route, you've got zero chance of getting asylum?
Well, that's where we want to get to, isn't it? That is where we want to get to.
So what are you waiting for then?
Well, I'm a backbencher, aren't I? But what I would say...
Yeah, but you've got strong views.
Well, yeah. But what I would say is...
What is the government waiting for? The records are going off the chart. We know now that this is causing huge tension across the country. So what is it you're waiting to happen before you get even tougher on this?
Well, this is what I'm saying. I think we've seen that step change. Since Shabana Mahmood was appointed as the Home Secretary in September, she has said, I will do whatever it takes to secure our borders. And you know what I like is the fact that she's put pressure on herself to deliver, and I think she will.
Well, so you should. Why would you not put pressure on yourself to deliver?
Well, I think over time people have said, oh, it's all very difficult and so forth. She's actually said, yeah, it is difficult, but I'm going to sort it out. And by the way, hold me accountable for it. I really like that.
Leila Cunningham?
So we are holding her accountable because, as we've read today, there's been a record number of boat arrivals. It hasn't decreased the number of boat people arriving illegally in our country. And the thing is, she talks a good rhetoric, but the only thing, like Michelle said, is that you must treat illegal entry as a crime, because it is actually under the Borders Act, but only 1% are prosecuted. Michelle is right that if you come into this country, then if you board a boat in France, the message must be that you will not claim asylum. Shabana Mahmood has said that you'll be housed in a hotel for 2 years. Who's paying for that?
Well, we're moving away from those, as I've just said.
Hotel barracks, whatever. The key issue is that they are not detained. Some of them have gone to sexually offend. Have you seen in Crowborough, people are protesting day and night because they don't want 600 illegal migrants housed in their town. And they're not addressing that. So while she pontificates about what needs to be done and says, oh, hold me accountable, it's women and girls, it's the British public that are facing the consequences, and some of them are pretty dire and severe. Someone was killed by someone in London. Young girls are getting sexually assaulted. Meanwhile, Londoners and people can't even get a police to respond to a burglary or an assault. Meanwhile, taxes are just going up and people up. Hold me accountable. What are we supposed to do now that her measures have done nothing to stem the flow? How do we hold her accountable?
Well,
why isn't she leaving the ECHR?
When we get to the point that she's been in for a year, 18 months, then we can really judge her on what has happened. Because
I judge her now because people don't have time.
These measures haven't even come before Parliament yet. She's announced them, and we're going through Parliament. That's how it works, I'm afraid. You can't do it at the stroke of a pen.
People don't have time to wait. People are being sexually assaulted,
and that
needs to be a priority. You can remove us from the ECHR, and you can reinforce the fact that you enter this country. You don't need any legislation. The Borders Act says very clearly, if you enter this country, it is a crime. Why don't you just push the legislation that we have?
This Labour government has removed way more people who've not got the right to be here than the Conservatives did, the party of which you were a part until 5 months ago.
The majority of those were voluntarily leaving. Stop
But
we want
most of them
removals.
are not dragged kicking and screaming onto a plane. No, that's correct.
Stop talking. You two are giving me a headache. Yeah. Honestly, pack it in. What is it?
We want forced removals. We want any criminal to be detained and deported. We don't want to wait till they get more than a 12-month sentence. With Kibatu, because you had public pressure, you deported him immediately to Ethiopia. Why are we still housing?
I'm in favour of deporting all foreign national offenders who commit crimes and are clogging up our prisons, because we've got enough criminals of our own and we want them back where they came from. Absolutely. And we've got over 10,000 of them clogging up the prison
estate. But instead of doing that, you're releasing violent criminals.
Hurrying it up. We are hurrying it up. And it does take time. I'm afraid in this era we expect immediate results. But when it comes to the next general election, I think Shabana will have delivered. Let's see.
If you're in one of these localities or communities that get these men dumped among them, would you be sitting there going, hey, do you know what, it's fine, because we just need...
I don't say it's fine, though, do I?
No, I didn't say you did. I said if you were in those communities, would you be sitting there saying, it's fine, we just need to wait? Or would you be anxious? Would you be angry? And would you be feeling like this government is failing them? Because the numbers are going... I know what you're saying about deterrence and, give things time and all the rest of it, but the numbers, in the meantime, are going through the roof.
And no one has been more vocal than me on the Labour backbenches in saying our constituents expect us to sort this out, and if we don't, they will look for people who might not have a lot else to talk about, but are going to be harder line on this. So if we sort it out, we can fight the next general election, not on immigration, because actually legal migration is falling off a cliff. So we're going to be in a better place with
Jonathan,
that.
can I ask
But we need to sort out illegal migration.
One final point, by the way. I've got a headache. I've got to tell you this. Can't wait. I want to go to the pub, quite frankly. Let me just point this out as a final thought, because I'm constantly hearing this narrative that legal migration is falling, and you guys keep pulling that lever as a sign of success. Legal migration is falling, net migration, in no small part to the fact that so many Brits now, even Brits watching this programme, they're having enough. And they're saying, do you know what? I'm out of here. I'm leaving this country. That is one of the reasons the net migration is going down. I'll tell you what, I'll get on one of these boats going in the opposite direction, quite frankly, at this rate. Anyway, thanks, panel, for your time.